Hey everyone, I'm Sison, and today we're taking a look at the Sony RX100 V. Now the RX100 series has been going on for quite a few years now, and since then manufacturers like Canon and Panasonic are trying to steal away that market share from Sony in the premium compact camera space. Now with the RX100 V, Sony have quite a few standout features to separate it from the rest of the crowd, and I'll actually get into that within this video. So stay tuned because I'm going to put through its paces, and at the end of the video I'll let you know what I personally think of it. Like Sony's other RX100 cameras, it features the same design with a black finish and a simple button layout. On the rear of the camera you have a 3-inch tilting LCD screen that can be used for different angled shooting as well as taking selfies. There's also a high resolution built-in viewfinder for people who find it difficult to see the LCD screen in bright situations, but it would have been good if Sony changed the way it implemented its viewfinder. By this I mean allowing it to pop up and being ready to look through like the RX1R Mark II, rather than popping it up and awkwardly pulling it out. On the top you've got a built-in flash that you could also use to manually tilt back so you can use it for bounce flash, and also a mode dial and a rocker switch to zoom in and out, which is also shared with the shutter button. On the side you have your NFC badge for one-touch pairing, and on the other side you have a micro USB port for in-camera charging and transferring, and a mini HDMI port to view your photos and videos on a HD TV. On the bottom there is a tripod mount and a battery door, which is also shared with a memory card slot. And finally on the front you have a control ring on the lens to adjust for different settings, and an AF illuminator to help the camera focus in low light situations. The camera weighs about 299 grams, and that's with the battery and the memory card included, so it's not going to be a burden when traveling around casually, and it actually feels very solid in the hand. The only thing I would recommend is that you use the supplied wrist strap because there is no grip on the camera and it can be a bit slippery. Since there is a massive amount of features and settings that you can play around with, it can be a bit overwhelming for some people. But like always, I do recommend people playing around with the camera just so they can familiarize themselves with it. Just a quick tip, you could always assign different features and settings in the quick function button and to different buttons on the camera itself. Now, one of its headline features is of course its autofocusing speed, and after playing around with it for a couple of weeks, I have to say by far it's one of the best focusing cameras in the premium compact camera space. So it's going to be great for anything fast moving like sports, pets, kids, and even wildlife. Now what makes it so good to focus is that the camera has 315 phase detection autofocus points, and that's spread throughout the frame, and Sony has also claimed that the camera can focus as fast as 0.05 seconds. While this video is not a scientific review where I can test that claim, I think it's safe to say that with the shots that I've been getting, it's certainly impressive. Not only is the autofocusing system impressive, but the camera can shoot up to 24 frames per second at full resolution, which is extraordinarily fast. And it can manage to shoot at this speed for up to 150 shots. And this is all thanks to an LSI processor that Sony implemented into the camera, which can manage massive amounts of data. Now one of my most favorite things with the RX100 IV was that you had slow motion recording for a few seconds, and that was up to 1000 frames per second. And now with the RX100 V, you can do that for twice as long, so you can capture more action in a single clip. Among the new features, this camera has Wi-Fi, play memories, dual recording, sweep panorama, picture effects, and a whole lot more. The camera is still a bit slow to start up to take a photo, taking about 2 seconds, and it takes about 1.5 seconds to shut down. On a casual day of taking photos, I managed to take about 300 shots on a full charge, so if you're traveling around you may want to bring a spare battery or two. The Carl Zeiss 24-70mm definitely delivers, offering sharp images, and thanks to its f1.8 aperture, very nice and smooth autofocus blur. For a compact camera, I would say this is one of the best ones to get, but it doesn't really offer a lot more in terms of quality from its predecessor, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just wish Sony offered something different now in terms of lens focal length or aperture, since its competitors are catching up. In terms of low light performance, I would say the camera does very well up to ISO 6400, and I would leave ISO 12800 as a last resort. Now, I love the video quality you get out of such a small camera. You have a variety of frame rates and codecs to choose from. The autofocusing speed is very quick, which is great, and just doing a quick shot of my dog and her yellow toy behind her, it shows that the camera doesn't seem to struggle at all. It can shoot in 4K video, but don't expect it to last too long since the camera will overheat, although I did manage to get a solid 6 minutes of video before it shut down. There is no mic input unfortunately, so you can't attach external microphones. But on the plus side, the stabilization works very well, so whether you're walking or taking a video zoomed all the way in, you can still get some really stabilized footage. Now the RX100 Mark V definitely delivers in terms of autofocusing speed, and it's speed that Sony really has focused on with this camera. However, it is a shame to see things like startup time not really improving since its predecessor. Now, in terms of features, there are so many things that you can do with this camera, and while that's a good thing, it can also be a bad thing because it always takes time to set up a shot, and you always have to dive into the menu. Even if it's customized, it still takes a bit of time to do that. And while I think it's great that Sony have improved things like video performance and continuous shooting, I feel like Sony should have focused on things like usability, like perhaps implementing a touchscreen, just like the Canon G7X Mark II and the Panasonic LX10. Now they've also been using the 24-70 Carl Zeiss lens for a very long time, and I feel like it's time for Sony to either use a faster lens or maybe use a wider or longer telephoto lens in the cameras. Now if you have an RX100 Mark III or a Mark IV, I don't really think it's worth the upgrade to the Mark V unless you really need the increased video performance and autofocusing speed. However, if you're just looking at the RX100 series now, I think the RX100 Mark III is definitely good value for money, especially for what it offers and the design of the camera. But if you want the latest and greatest tech from Sony, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the RX100 Mark V. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. And if you already own one, let me know what you think of it. And remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more Sony camera reviews and tutorials. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram for more sample photos and photo updates. Until then, happy shooting and thanks for watching.